Hey guys, this is Cruiser again with the FW450, the version 3. This is the one I got crashed. It does still need servos. I flipped the gears so they do work. I did pick them up finally. I have 3 brand new servos, but I'm not going to replace those this time. You kind of have the same issues about fishing wires through this, and you got to watch the main shaft and you got to watch the main gear from rubbing against these. But what we're going to work on is the ESC. This is a 2.0. This ESC did not burn out. It still works. It can only run a 4-cell, and I had to reverse the main motor wires to get the motor just to rotate in the right direction. So I might have to do that. So what I'm going to show you is putting a new one in. This is the new V4 version. The thing I don't like is they gave me nothing to stick it back down with, but luckily I have multiple helis with, this is called fly-barless controller tape. Alright, they do have these at the hobby stores. I happen to have one little piece left. It's not as big as the one Flywing uses. Flywing ought to give you a brand new one with the ESC, but they don't. They don't even have a part number to supply it. So Flywing, if you're listening, you really should put the tape in here. I mean, it does help stick this down. But I looked at it for a little bit. I was thinking a lot of pulling and tugging here, and what I'm going to do is, I don't know if it's the correct way. There's no instructions on this bird on how to take it apart. So we're going to do it together. We're going to screw up together and we're going to do it together, right? What I'm thinking is, if I can get the main gear out of here, maybe I got to take the whole rotor head out, but I'm going to try to do everything from underneath. I know we can get rid of, which I'll probably do right now, is get rid of the skids so they're not in the way. So let me work on removing the rear skids. I mean, taking the body off, you almost remove all the skids anyway, so it may not hurt that. So let me just get rid of the skids altogether. When you take the canopy off, you take the front skid bolts off anyway, so you might as well just finish it up here. Alright, so I'm going to take the skids off, place them over here. So that's a neat idea. 4 bolts, the skids off. What I'm thinking is, if you can see this, when I changed it before, I got it wire tied to the motor mount, so I might pull the motor because I won't be able to cut these wires without hurting these wires. I don't want to hurt this ESC. This ESC is still good. But I'm going to try to get the main gear out this time instead of pulling this whole side off. That's what I did last time. I'm going to try to get the main gear off, and I have to unscrew the tail mount and get these wires rerouted all the way to the H1 receiver and the telemetry. So somewhere I'm going to have to tug and pull the wires out of somewhere. So let's just start right now by taking the bolt out. The Jesus bolt is what they technically call this. Oh, and I got the wrong, thought I had the right one in here. I do. Just didn't have it in straight. So, take the lower Jesus bolt out of here. Alright. So I took the lower Jesus bolt out. Now we should be able to drop the main gear out and then pull up your rotor head a little bit and the main gear will come right out. Alright, so here's the main gear out of the way. I might leave the rotor head for right now, so let's work on it together and see if there's any issues. You see how the wires are routed? We have to keep that same way. I'm going to have to get 3 small wire ties, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the motor just to cut these wire ties. I hate to hurt these servo wires. I don't have any little pinchers. I will try to get in there. Alright, I'm just looking this over, taking a good look at it. Alright, so let me flip her over first. Let's get back to this side. Let's worry about the ESC right now. What I want to do is pull the main motor plug out, this M60. So sometimes these are pretty hard to get out. You just wiggle them a little bit and they should come out. Now this is the one that I reversed the wire for the main motor, and I don't know if I should wire it back the way it was or just leave it like that for now to see what happens. If the motor turns the correct direction without me resoldering this, that means each ESC is coming off the manufacturing differently. But so we won't touch that right now. I do want to loosen this up. Oh, see what I got here. Just pull it up. Alright, so it unstuck pretty easily. I don't know if I can save the tape on this. And like you see, this is a version 2, and it has the hex bolts, where this one was actually the newest V3 one, and it had Phillips. So Flywing, step in on that. There's something different about your production line. They did tell me that they build these in different factories, so they probably use different screws. So just to quickly show you that. But this ESC is good. I don't want to wreck this one. I just put it on here. And I'm only doing this to help everybody out, and even myself, how to change out the ESC a little differently. Like I said, I took the whole side panel off and did this before. I don't want to do this. I want it to be easier for people. So we have the ESC mount. I don't need to touch that. So this is set. This is free. So we have the motor wire. We have the single tail wire. We have the servo wire for the main motor, and then we have the telemetry here where it goes into the battery. So anyways, let's see what I can do about getting in here. So the wires do tuck and climb up and over the tail here, so I do have to unscrew the tail. What I'm going to try to do right now is, I know that the 2 wires I need to remove is, one is the tail and the ESC. So ESC, which controls the motor, the main motor, and then tail controls the tail motor. Alright, so that's the only 2 we need to pull off there. And they are pretty tight. If you see right here, they're pretty tight in here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this bolt out. I'm going to take this bolt out right here. Like I said, I took the full panel off. I'm trying to do this a different way. Nope. Dropped the nut. Alright, so I took this bolt out to kind of give us a little slack here, so we can, these wires move a little bit easier. Alright. So now let me try to get the telemetry wire out of the H1. Tweezers, squeeze that pin. Let's see. I knew I had it out. I just couldn't tug it with that. Alright, so you can see this kind of slides up through a gap between the flight controller and the flight controller frame mount. But I don't think without separating this you can pull it out. So let me use something that's kind of like a shim to prop this open, and then we can probably slide all these wires through. Like I said, I originally took the whole side frame off, and you can do that if you want. I'm trying to do it differently this time. Alright. Maybe I'll use the tweezers. Use the tweezer and just do this. Tweezer to separate the frame because I took that little bolt out. Nope, it's not going to stay. Let me try this in. Like I said, doing this together, if I screw it up, you guys can yell at me, that's fine. Just something to pry that open, gives you a little bit of space. So now if you come under here, you should be able to grab the servo wires. Alright, so the servo wires kind of go through, up and over, and down. Might be a little tricky getting them in later. I'm probably hoping I pulled the frame out. I'm going to lay this down. We need a little bit more room. Hold it with my finger. Alright, so the up and over isn't going to work this way. Just like a puzzle. It goes up first, back down towards the receiver, then up. Sorry, I'm coming out of the screen here. So, I'm going to move 3 more bolts. And you got to place these in the right place. I don't care what anybody says. What happens is you get those wires stuck on a place where it's going to rub all the time. You're just going to have problems. So, swash guide bolt I'm taking out. And right here the servo holder bolt I'm going to take out. And in the end, if I end up taking the whole thing apart, that's what's going to happen. I might end up taking this whole plate off. This whole carbon fiber side body. Like I said, I'm trying to do it this way. It's probably longer. But I really can't separate everything. So, just looking at this, I'm not doing that. I want to feed them the right way. I can't even, I'm pushing these out of the way. So, I'm going to give up right now. It's not a patience thing. It's just stupidity dealing with all this whole side carbon fiber frame. So, let's just do that. I'm going to start from the ESC plate up front. Let me get all these nuts so that I don't lose them. We're just going to do this. So we have the ESC plate on one side. It's got 3 bolts. The motor mount. It's got 2 bolts. The servo mount rail and center rail have bolts in between them. Let's do the motor mounts here. I just should have just went here. Just remember that some of these are in the aluminum. So these have Loctite on them. I'm going to put these aside over here for the motor. Some are just going into plastic. So Loctite. So this is the 2 from the motor mount I'm going to put aside. I'll put Loctite on them later. Alright, So now I got 2 left. I'm going to leave the servos there. They shouldn't move. Sorry for wasting your time on trying to do it in a different direction, but it still ends up on this side frame. Someone will probably say they have a different way. That's fine. You can run the wires on the outside. That's fine. I want to put them back where they were. And this is how I originally did it. I took the side frame off. So the side frame also has the antenna for the RX. And if you get a good pair of tweezers, we can untape this. I got some more of this tape. Seemed to break from last time being pulled apart. Alright. So I released one receiver antenna, and let's pull this frame out of here. One wire's hung up in it. So a servo wire, there's a little notch here that the wire goes through. Just remember that when you're putting it back together. And just that can be a pain. It's in a notch. Lift it, let it slide through. Drop the servo frame. And there we go. Pull the frame right out of here. Alright, you just got to worry about this little niche for the servo wire when you put it back together. Because this is the thing I was telling you about. I was able to wire tie everything to the motor. The wire's right here, and then coming out here. And see how they go up and through? They go up and through here into the receiver, and then this one sneaks up through the side. So it is kind of difficult to do this from up underneath, so you have to take the whole side off. Alright, I'm going to be back in a few minutes. I got to get some snippers. I'm going to snip these wire ties off, and then we'll start putting it all back together. Alright, just give me a few seconds. I'm going to get my snippers out. Okay guys, I must have hid my snippers somewhere, but I'm just going to cut these off with good old-fashioned scissors. I just don't want to hurt these servo wires because this ESC is good. Someone said just disconnect the wires and wire it back up. It's fine. It takes 5 minutes. Yeah, well, that's why I don't ever listen to the internet. There's always somebody. There's always somebody. Figured I'd show you just for me, and everybody will say, well, you're just old and slow. You don't know what you're doing. Well, a lot of people that bought fly wings, they bought them because of the ease of flying, and they don't really know how to do kit form helis, how they get torn apart. Alright, so put it in a place you can see it. Alright, here's the brand new one. We'll probably route all the wires. So we're going up and over right here with this one. And This is the tail wire right here. Here's the servo wires. We took that out of the way. Now I gotta find the right tool, or let me get the telemetry wire out of here. Alright, let me find the right tool for the tail. That's gonna be a smaller hex. I don't remember what size. Okay, that's the right size. Not a lot of room in here. Like I said, I'm trying to do this without pulling the tail section out, which would probably be easier. Take the wire out of the way. There's one. Those two are a little bit different. Alright, so do a little tip up here. Maybe you can see it. This one's down here on the side of the motor. Alright, that was number 2. What I want to look at, I'm wondering if they use the same board. Alright, this is a green board on here. This one is black on the new one, but I'm assuming we need to put them in the same direction. You see how the way, let me lift this up without hurting it. The M60s have 2 wires together and then one by itself. So let me pull it out, and the one that's by itself is on the bottom. Alright, towards the receiver. Alright, so let me tuck that in there for a minute. Alright, I just need to take a break right now. So we're going to call that part 1, the disassembly. Alright, this is Cruise Roy, and I'm out of here.